iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Alice Lee, welcome to iHeartRadio Broadway.
Thank you for having me.
So you are now in season 2 of Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. You are a series regular now, and this season has been quite the journey for your character, Emily. She is a new mom, the recent passing of your father-in-law, your sister's been in town. So you've gone through quite a series of moments. What's to come in the back half of season 2 for Emily?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really fun. I love that Emily has had some more to do, and we've been getting to know Emily a little more. And the back half also, there's more kind of exploring her and David's relationship. And Emily does also go through some postpartum. So the show kind of goes through that journey. So she has a bit more to do there. And again, you kind of see her and David, how they, go through that together. And yeah, it's cool. I'm glad she's getting some more depth. So
what's been the most rewarding thing playing Emily? Because she does have a lot going on. For the first part, it was really about Zoey and what was going on in Zoey's life. But season 2 has really blossomed to show kind of the universe around Zoey and what's happening in these little pockets of life. So what has been the most rewarding thing with playing Emily and playing a new mom who also has her own set of issues that she's going through?
I think, yeah, I love what you said about how it's more about, what was the word you said?
The universe around Zoey.
Yes, the universe around Zoey. And I think that's what's been exciting, kind of not just Zoey, but it's like, who is Emily? Like my mother-in-law, Maggie, and like David, and just kind of going beyond just like even only being a parent or like only being David's wife, like I think it's important that we see some more sides of her. And I think that's what makes this season more interesting too, because we kind of get to see more of her world, more of Zoe's world, and how do they affect her and how is she affecting them? But how are they affecting each other? Like I think that's important. So,
and I also think season 1, Emily, she's very much a perfectionist. She's busy with work. She's busy with life. She wants everything to kind of fall into their set pockets. But season 2, once Emily has the baby, things kind of don't always go as planned. So we see more of Emily dealing with the struggles of life. And has that been interesting to play from season 1 to season 2?
And I love that you say that, because I feel like I haven't even thought about that either. Like she was very, everything's planned. She has her way. But now there's like these curveballs being thrown at her. The baby, my husband wants to join a band soon. He wants to quit his job and then the postpartum. And so I think it's, it's cool to see like how I think she's maybe becoming a little more flexible, or maybe she always was, but we're just getting to see it more. But it seems like she's more like, okay, like how do we then, this isn't the plan, but what do we do? Let's work it out. Okay, now I have to rethink it, but it's not like, oh, F this. I feel like she's like, no, let's try this again in some other way. So I think it's cool to see her kind of navigating that as well.
And I also think the cool thing is watching the dynamic between Emily and her sister, because in the terms of Zoe's family, Emily is kind of like that voice of reason. And then you bring in her sister and she's like, I can't deal with this. And you see Emily kind of start to lose it a little bit. So what's that relationship been like to play off of?
Well, I love having an Asian sis in there. I'm like, yes. And you're right. I think it's so cool that we get to see a different side of Emily, where you just know more about her life. You're like, oh, she's the way she is because she also has this crazy sister. And like, you just never would have known that she had a crazy sister. But also knowing they are still sisters and they're different, but at the end of the day, that bond and that love is there. And I think it's really awesome that the audience gets to see that.
And also, you're no stranger to musical theater and to performing. You originated one of the roles in one of the Heathers, Heather Duke, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you did Spring Awakening and you did Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. So to then go into Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, to pair all of your talents together, is this really a dream role for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, getting to I mean, musicals is the same way. You get to sing and act and dance. But obviously this is a different format. So me also loving TV and film, I'm like, oh, I get to do that, but now in this version, and it's amazing. It's honestly a joy. I love the dancing. Working with Mandy is amazing because also it's challenging. It's not like we learn and rehearse over and over again and then we do 8 shows a week. You know, it's like we rehearse for like a couple days, we do the number, on to the next. You know what I mean? So it's like, but every number is different and exciting. So I'm like, wait, what's that? And it's cool. I love it. It is definitely a dream. Like I'm very grateful.
And I think Austin said it best when I was interviewing him a couple weeks ago. It's like putting on a new musical every 8 days.
Yeah.
And so being a part of that and the camaraderie with your cast and the creative team, what's that process been like for you to work with this team behind Zoeys?
I feel like it's such a good team. It's almost like team building these musical numbers as well, because there's so many factors to it. It really can't happen without every single person, like from the choreographers to the directors, the actors, but also the grip and lighting and like people in the back, like pulling curtains and like sounds. Like there's so many elements. And our camera guy, who is like the guy, like we just forget that there's someone there who's navigating all of us. Like it's amazing. But it's kind of like a bonding experience. I think, yeah, even with musical theater, you just feel like you're in a camp and you're a little fam. So that's what it feels like. But then it's like so brief. We're like doing it and then we shoot it just a couple times and we're done. And we're like, wait, should we do it again?
So what has been your favorite musical moment, whether it's a group number or your own solo moment? What in season 1 or season 2, have you had that favorite moment?
I definitely loved American Pie at the end of the first season. And because I think that was also one of our first oneers where we just, and everyone was together. Again, just that feeling of, I don't know, you know, right? When we're all together and we're all doing it, like it's one goal. And you just should have seen, there's some back, like footage of behind the scenes where these guys are just, because it went from day to night, you know? And props were like taking things out while we were over there. And I loved American Pie. I also loved Poison. Poison was really fun. That choreo was so cool. And yeah, I think those are my favorites so far for me, at least.
American Pie was so beautifully shot, and I didn't learn it was a one shot take until later on. And even it was impressive to watch it, but then to find out that on top of it. And of course, the emotional reason for why it was shot. It's just it was a beautiful number, and it was such an amazing way to end season 1. But I am curious, what's to come musically for you in the rest of season 2?
So musically for me, I do still have some cool stuff coming up with Emily's postpartum, and it's definitely emotional, but she has some good songs in there too, kind of more gritty. I don't know if I can say the song names. But also David has a beautiful number where I'm dancing while he's singing, and that's also beautiful. And right now we're on the season finale, and we have a big group number again, and it's really, we've been rehearsing it, and it's again kind of the same feeling of like we're all here, like, so it's been really fun. Yeah.
Now, is that the whole entire cast, or is it just the family unit in that?
It's gonna be all of us.
Wow.
I can say that. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows there's gonna be one big group number at the end, right? Like, yeah, that's not giving anything away.
Breaking news here on iHeartRadio Broadway. It's totally fine. So this show also has such an amazing fan base. I'm a fan of the show. I've told everybody that's come on that I love this show because there is something for everyone. You're not just a fan of Zoey, but then you've got, you know, things going on with the husband and wife. You've got things going on with the new baby, the sister, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
What do you think the secret has been to the show's success so far?
I definitely think it's so many different elements, you know. I think, like you said, there's something for everyone. I mean, it's a dramedy, you know, like I think it's funny, and then it makes you cry and you're like, fuck. You know. and then the way they do the musical numbers, like, you know, it's not like a typical musical show where it's like we're singing. I feel like there's a way that they're doing it where it feels grounded, and because they're heart songs, so it's like this part of these people that we don't know, but they sing about it, and it makes it very interesting, I think. And I just feel like they found the right balance of also telling the story through the dance, always making sure there's a motivation for why they're singing. And then, yeah, again, the show, it kind of just hits all the buttons, and so many different characters you can get to know. And she's at the office, but there's home stuff. And I also feel like it's the pandemic, and our show doesn't really, no one's wearing masks in the show itself. So
Hmm.
I think there's something about that where people get to kind of, turn that off and be like, oh, like
Absolutely.
world, and kind of get sucked into that.
Yeah, and I think also go back to the first season was the setup for this is why Zoe was going through her life. This is what was happening to her. And then to pull back a little bit from that and still obviously care about Zoe. She is the main
Of course.
character of the
Yeah,
show.
exactly.
But then the whole entire universe coming around her, and you start to really care about these subgroups of the family. And so
Yeah.
it's not just about one character, it is about a whole entire show, which is really difficult in some shows to pull off. And I feel like this show has done that really remarkably well. So you
Yeah.
care about these other characters.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear that. But yeah, like it was more focused on, the dad and all of that the first season, but I think this season it's about like, healing and recovery and how that manifests for everyone, for,
Hmm.
not just Zoe, but Maggie, David, and, Max, like, because it affects whatever affects Zoe is going to then affect everyone else.
Right.
So yeah.
And last question, what is the fan base meant to you all as a cast to see the reaction, especially on social? And I know you don't get to see your fans with the pandemic, but to hear from them on social, what has that been like for you?
It's been amazing, honestly. Like, I'll get DMs about, just people being like, you have no idea how much the show has been cathartic. Like, people who've also experienced like very similar things, like losing a parent to PSP, or just losing a parent, and that grief. I mean, that grief is universal, like we're all going to go through it. That's, so it's been amazing just to know that you're bringing some kind of joy or some connection to these people. That's what you want to do with your art, as long as it can affect one person and bring some joy and peace in their life. So it's been really cool. Everyone's been so awesome. The fans are amazing. And I'm like, "Ugh, thank you so much." Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm a fan of the show. I can't wait to see what's next in the back half of season 2 and hopefully a season 3. So, Alice Lee, thank you so much for joining iHeartRadio Broadway today.
Thank you. This is so fun.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.